Welcome back to the What's Up with Yoga podcast. I'm your host, Kim Struglinski. This week, we are talking about what's up with yoga retreats, and I'm so excited to have a guest on today. My guest today is Willis Johnston. He is a teacher who I met through the Katona Yoga world. He was my mentor during the Katona Yoga mentorship a couple winters ago, and we've just struck up a friendship as well. And he's just someone that I truly love taking class with, practicing with, and I really admire sort of how he runs his business and how he runs retreats. So I've invited him onto the podcast to talk about retreats today. I am actually recording this intro after I recorded the podcast. And since I recorded this podcast, I have broken my foot. And so I am laid up in bed for a little bit. So I'm thinking all about all the retreats I would love to go on once I'm healed up. I also think that there's a podcast episode in here about injuries. So more to come. But for now, I want to introduce you to Willis. So like I said, Willis Johnston is a yoga teacher, an artist, and he lives in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. He owns Flying Heart Yoga, which is a yoga studio in Puerto Vallarta, and he hosts a lot of retreats. So I have him on to just talk about what it's like to lead retreats, what you might want to think about if you're thinking about going on a retreat or leading a retreat, and we'll get into it. Willis, I'm so glad to have you on the podcast. You're my first international guest.
International diva.
International diva. Just to get started, I know a lot about you. Not a lot, enough. I know enough about you. And I know that you haven't always lived where you live now. So can you tell us a little bit about where you are now, and then maybe a quick intro to how you ended up where you are, just where you live?
Okay, so I am in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It's on the Pacific coast. If some listeners aren't familiar, it's in the same state as the big city, Guadalajara. It's a beautiful, vibrant beach town that's super charming and still has a nice local heart to it. And very long, very, very long story short, I came here when big things in my life happened. The loss of my mother, the loss of a job as a professional dancer in Vegas. I was in a show that closed. So my mom's passing plus that job ending was just like this big moment of like, oh, what's next? I really wanted something new, something different. And then I did my yoga teacher training here in Puerto Vallarta with my teacher, Anna, who had a studio here for many years. It has since closed. And then through spending a month in Vallarta, training yoga, meeting people, I realized, oh my gosh, I could live here. I could make this reality for me. And so that's what I did.
How long have you been there now?
It's been about 12 years, which kind of blows my mind. It does not feel like 12. It feels like 1, to be honest. I don't know where time went, but we're here.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, and I know that you are the owner of Flying Heart Yoga, the yoga studio that you own and teach at down there. And that's one part of what you do as a yoga teacher. So what does your sort of year look like? How much time do you spend in the studio and then on retreats? Tell me a little bit about that too.
Yeah, so Vallarta is a very seasonal place. So we go from a really busy, buzzing winter to a very, very, very calm, quiet summer. So I kind of organize my life and work around the season. So I'm here in our quote unquote high season a lot, pretty much solid from November through May, although I do leave for retreats and some other fun stuff, but I'm mostly here during that time. And then I'm away quite a bit in the low season doing retreats. And I also do some dance work still, choreographing and teaching. So I do that in our slow season. And then I have some great friends and colleagues that help keep the studio open for our more full-time local yogis because I would never, ever want to take yoga away from them. So I refuse to close in the summer, even though sometimes it gets pretty hard to keep going and, making things work. But it's worth it for me to make sure they have their yoga home throughout the entire year. So I organize my time that way.
Well, we're going to talk today about retreats, and I'm really excited because I feel like whenever I look at your social media, you've got 9 new retreats coming up. And when I think of you, I think of the world traveler who goes on retreats all the time. And so I have a bunch of questions for you about that. But
Awesome.
I'm curious what your first retreat was, whether you were an attendee or a host, and where it was, and tell us about it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So my first retreat I hosted, and it was in Tulum, Mexico, which, is sort of like a yoga retreat mecca. Um,
Hmm.
and it was a really, really wonderful experience. I was so scared to lead my first retreat. I just took a risk and put it out there. I had just like 5 or 6 guests. And so it was a really small group, and including my best friend and her mom, which made it really special. Um, and yeah, and it was a great time, and I learned a lot from that experience, just in terms of what a retreat looks like. I'd never been on one myself, but I'd always loved to travel, and I'm actually known in my friend group as Rooster because I'm the one that's like the first one up in the morning, organizing the day. Come on, guys, get up, let's go. So I have a knack for that organization, and I love travel. And so just seeing how that sort of mixed in with yoga was a great experience. And since then, I've just kept offering them.
Do you know how many retreats you've hosted now?
Oh God, I've
I'm
tried to
putting you on the
think
spot.
about that, but I mean, God, there has to be well over 30, I would say. Yeah, I don't even know if I could even remember all of them. Um, because I've done like weekend retreats, for
Huh.
more locals in the Puerto Vallarta area, going up to a neighboring beach town for a couple days.
Cool.
I've done, um, yeah, little things like that. So yeah, to add them all together would be so difficult, but probably over 30 for sure.
Where have you been this year in 2025, if you
And
can remember?
20, yeah, if I can remember, no, 2025. I had a retreat in Oaxaca, Mexico. I had a retreat in Scotland, in Portugal, in Slovenia, in Greece, and Chiapas, Mexico.
My gosh. And then you have
So,
one more coming up?
yeah, I have one over New Year's with
Okay.
my really dear friend Ivory Jenkins. And that's, it'll be our third New Year's retreat to do together. So
Gosh.
that's always
Wow.
a good time. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the next one I have on the books.
So tell me a little bit about what it looks like to plan a retreat for you. Like how far in advance are we planning things? Are we going back to the same places? Like where do you start?
Yeah, great question. So when I first started doing retreats, like now I'm doing maybe 6 to 7-ish a year. When I first started, it was one a year.
Hmm.
And I would plan them quite far in advance just so that I knew I had the time to get the word out, to promote. So maybe, a year in advance, even
Yeah.
9 months, something like that. So, which I think is important if you're just starting out with retreats, just so that it can exist out there on the interwebs and social media, and people can see it. And of course, travel is something that people have to really consider and factor into their year. And so
Yeah.
the more time someone has, from seeing a retreat happening to the retreat happening, actually happening, the more, space they have to make it work for themselves if they're interested. So when I first started, a year in advance, 9 months ish, and now, I'm planning really far out sometimes. Like
Hmm.
I there might be even things now that I haven't announced yet, but I've like deposited on, but just
Wow.
waiting for the flow of promotion to like get to a point that makes sense to promote a certain thing. So
Hmm.
or sometimes I'll like sneak last minute things in, if I'm feeling like, okay, most of the retreats this year have lots of energy behind them, they're selling. I might go, oh, well, there's a couple weeks I have in March. What if I try this or what if I try that? So sometimes I'll sneak things into the schedule as well. But I do typically now like to have an idea of where I'm going to go. Like I basically have 2027 for the most part mapped out. Um,
Hmm.
and also, just practically speaking, some retreat centers or places where retreats can be held get booked out quite far in advance. So, if I
Yeah.
really want to go somewhere, I want to make sure that I can lock it down. And, that takes a bit of planning, some financial risk, but yeah, for me it's worth it at this point to just have a good arc or a vision of
Yeah.
what's to come. And it's exciting. I really love planning. I really love deciding what we're going to do on retreats. I love exploring nature and culture and food. And, my perspective on retreats is that yes, we practice yoga. And the yoga often depends on who shows up.
Hmm.
Sometimes the vibe is a bit more chill. Sometimes, it's more of a rockin' vibe, like especially in the morning classes. Evening classes are always pretty chill, but really the yoga aside, it's for me about exploration. And so I would never want to host a retreat somewhere that's like so epic and so culturally rich and we don't explore it. I
Yeah.
really focus on where we're going and what we can do. And for me, it's not that the yoga is secondary because when we practice, I always say, when we practice, we practice. We take it seriously. We show up on the mat. But really, it's about the whole experience. It's not just like, let's go somewhere and do yoga and then like pick our noses for like 7 days. It's like, no, let's go somewhere. We'll do yoga and then we'll explore because there's so much beauty out there in the world. And I think there's something so magical when people come together in these retreats. It's like everyone's a kid again in a sense. Like everyone is experiencing something for the first time together. And that's kind of a rare container to be in. I mean, I
Yeah.
travel with my partner all the time and I love traveling with Diego and we have a ball together, but there's something so like powerful about a group of people coming together and
Yeah.
experiencing beauty and culture and food and like there's this really great quote and I'm just going to totally butcher it, but it's a quote about basically what we see, what we pick out of our circumstances, our surroundings is really based on where we're coming from. So an
Mm.
artist might look at a big field and notice the colors or like the shape of the landscape. A botanist would like notice something really specific about the flowers in the field. So we see things based on our past experiences, our personal references. And so to be in this big container where we're all like tasting amazing food or drinking great wine or kayaking down a beautiful river or hiking up a beautiful mountain, that sort of soup of people's insights and observations really makes these experiences so rich and so exciting. And it really makes you feel alive.
Oh, yeah. And I've never been on retreat with you. I'm still, at some point, I will come. I
Por
have been to
favor.
visit you, but I still haven't actually been on retreat with you. But that's one of the things that every time I see you posting about a retreat is there's such cool experiences where I feel like you truly do figure out how to immerse yourself and everyone on your retreat in the local culture. And I just think that is so cool. And I'd love to hear more about how you do that, how you find those things to do. Where do you start with that?
Yeah, so I have been very, very lucky with the venues that I've chosen and stumbled upon. I've made some really great contacts in terms of people that really have this desire as well to share their culture or
Hmm.
their surroundings. And so if it's a place that I'm familiar with, then, it's a pretty easy experience for me to like put a package together. If it's somewhere that I've never been, because I've had a couple retreats where I'm like, I really want to go to, let's say Cuba. I really want to go to
Mhm.
Cuba. I had a retreat in Cuba. I forget what year, but it was amazing. I really
Wow,
want to go
that's
to Cuba, but I don't really know what to do. So I went through this
yeah.
great retreat organizer who was living in Cuba. And so she put together this incredible package. And so sometimes it looks like that, where I'm like reaching out to people there on the ground and they can recommend things. They can say, oh, well, people love doing this hike or taking a boat
Hmm.
day or whatever. And I sort of think, okay, what would come together to make a well-rounded package? Um, so that's one way that I do it. Sometimes I'll go somewhere and after experiencing a trip in a certain place, I'll be like, oh my gosh, people have to come here and experience this too.
Yeah.
That's how Slovenia happened. I had read on some like random blog post like Slovenia, a hidden gem in Europe. And I'm like, oh, weird. Well, be kind of cool. It looks beautiful. So I went myself and had this mind blowing time. It's just such a beautiful country. The nature's insane. The access to nature is just so easy and at your fingertips. And so I thought, I want to do a retreat in Slovenia. And so that package that I put together for Slovenia was informed by the activities that I did myself on vacation that I loved. So it looks, different from destination to destination, but I definitely make good effort in getting into the nitty-gritty and considering what really makes this place special and what would be a great way to spend time on a group trip.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how much are the group things? I guess my question is, it sounds like you have a lot of options, and then so do most people opt to like do every event? Do some people do their own thing? How does that end up? What do the group dynamics end up looking like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, some retreats are a lot more involved experience-wise than others. So, for example, I just did a Day of the Dead retreat in Chiapas,
Yeah,
Mexico, and it was
that
just
looks
like
so cool.
it was amazing. I mean, just I love Mexico. I'm partial. It's been my home for 12 years, but Mexico is so badass and there's
Yeah.
so much like raw beauty to it. So we did quite a bit of touring on that trip, so it was a little bit heavy in that sense. I also have Iceland coming up, and that's going to be pretty involved in terms of sightseeing. But hello, it's Iceland, you
Mhm.
have to.
Yeah. Oh my
But
gosh, yeah.
for example, Greece. Like Greece is a whole week, 7 nights, and we have two group excursion days. One is a big island hopping boat day, and the other day is like a beach day and lunch. And so that has a bit more spacious free time. But usually for the activities that are included, everyone comes.
Yeah.
But I do like to leave space for people to do their own thing. So, like, if on a free day, Jim and Sue want to go wine tasting on their own as a couple, they can do it, right? Or if
Yeah.
like a group of people want to hop in the rental car and go to the main town and do some shopping, they can do it. So there's always spaciousness for options like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I always tell people like, this is your trip. This is not a
Yeah.
yoga training.
Yeah.
The only thing that I feel like I need from guests is that they're just like fun, nice people to be around. But if they don't want to
Yeah.
go to every yoga class, they don't have to go to every yoga class. They can skip an excursion. They don't have to do anything they don't want to do. Right. Which for me is like something that I think is like super, super important that future guests or people thinking about coming on one of my retreats know is that, again, yes, we practice yoga, but you'll have a great time if you don't practice yoga.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon for there to be a spouse accompanying their partner and they don't
Yeah.
do yoga. They don't take
Yeah.
one of the classes, but they do all the excursions and they leave feeling so full because again, it's about the community. It's about being together. It's about that augmented energy and excitement of exploring this beautiful world that we are privileged to inhabit. So, yeah, so it's like really, sometimes I even go, should I call them yoga retreats?
Yeah.
I would never take the yoga out of it, but there's so much more. And I am confident in saying that you could come on a trip and not do any of the yoga and you would have a blast.
Yeah. I also feel like just from, again, from what I've seen from the outside, like you do a really great job of creating a container of the retreat. And I'm curious if you can tell us a little bit more about how you do that or what you do or just what that looks like for you.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that because, yeah, I do like to bookend the retreat with some sort of opening circle and a closing circle. And, yeah, in the past, we've done things like Temazcal sweat lodge ceremonies as groups
Hmm.
together. We've done kirtans at a retreat or two. But one thing that I personally like to do on retreats is to just let the experience be the magic.
Sure.
Let whatever unfolds be the thing that makes the retreat memorable. And I guess what I'm trying to lead to by saying that is like, I don't ever really try to make the experience overly emotional or precious by
Mhm.
way of trying to like over dramatize anything about the retreat. Because I
Yeah.
think that, again, like we are living amongst beauty and magic everywhere. And that is to be explored and to be discovered and to be felt. And so, we'll have again an opening, a closing, and we'll share feelings. Of course, I'm a huge like emotional person. So we will have the feelings and the sharing and stuff like that. But I really like to bookend it to where it's like, okay, we start, we come together, what's your name? Where are you from? What are you looking forward to about this week? And then at the end, it's
Yeah.
very simple. It's like, what is something that you're taking away from this week? And
Yeah.
leaving the middle space to be just like this canvas where the colors of the experience can sort of like swirl and splat and spread around. And then at the end, we button it all up. So yeah, I ritualize it at the beginning, at the end, and then the middle is like spacious and the eventer.
Yeah. That's awesome. I want to ask a little bit more too about, I think this comes from my time leading trainings and leading orientations when I worked in higher education. I did a lot of like facilitating group dynamics. And I'm curious, number one, how much you find yourself sort of facilitating group dynamics when you're on a retreat. And number two, what you've learned about that doing all these kinds of travels with other people.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So,
I know there's a lot of pieces to that. We can like break it
so,
down.
so I would say that I have always loved people, and I attribute that to my mom and my dad. My dad was a plumber, so my dad was always out around town, really having like face-to-face interactions with people. My dad's a great storyteller. My dad is very interested in people, and my mom was a administrator at a state facility for people with various levels of disability. And
Mhm.
and so I grew up just like having this interest and love for people because of my parents. And that's something I'm so grateful for from both of them. And so for me, I get filled up with being around people and that collective energy. And I think it's interesting to see people come together and how that over time kind of morphs and unfolds into this very unique experience from group to group. All the dynamics are so unique in each retreat, and
Yeah.
knock on wood, they've always been wonderful. I honestly have never had an experience that has been challenging in sort of the group dynamic sense. Um, and I don't know if that's because I really keep the experience moving and I bring energy and enthusiasm and joy and passion and love for retreats to my retreats. Or if it's just been lucky, I don't know. But I really have had really, really good luck in that respect. I will say for me, and maybe it's slightly counterintuitive, but I really love the big groups. Like I have had some retreats, 6 to 10 to 12,
Mhm.
and I've had, 26 people. And
Yeah.
the bigger groups, ironically for me, are, I don't want to use the word less draining because I never feel drained, but there is something like that huge collective energy that really kind of floats the experience for me. And I also think that, you know, people also on the bigger groups, they feel the freedom perhaps to like do their own thing every now and then, or they like,
Yeah.
maybe they came with a friend or they made a couple other friends on the retreat that they really jive with, so they go off and do their own thing. And so the group kind of, even though it's big, it can tend to sort of like break apart in smaller little day trips and excursions. And it's not
Yeah.
like everyone is together the entire time, which I do
Yeah.
love that too. It's just a different energy. And I
Yeah.
particularly like the big groups.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Yeah, I feel like the last retreat that I went on was a larger group. And the first one I ever went on was a much smaller group. And it's just really, like you said, it's so interesting that the larger group almost in some ways brings its own energy because people can like go do something with someone else. Like you don't have to be with the same people. You can learn from new people and hang out with new people every day, which is really cool.
Yeah,
And
for
like you
sure.
wouldn't expect that in a retreat situation.
Back, then we all come back for dinner, and it's like we
Yeah,
might separate and
exactly.
then we're back together, breaking bread, sharing
Yeah.
wine, telling stories,
Talking
laughing,
about what you
crying.
did. Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is maybe a mean question to ask, but I'm curious. Are retreats a vacation for you or are they work?
You know, It's
Or are they
kind of one of
both?
those things where, like, I would say it's similar to how I feel about owning a yoga studio. Is it work? I mean, yeah, I guess it is because, you know, it's what I do for income in a sense. It's what I do to sustain myself in a sense, but I don't even think about it as work.
Hmm.
Whether it's the yoga studio ownership or doing retreats. Um, I will say there is a level of presence that I must have on retreats that sometimes ironically takes me out of my, I guess, personal moments because I'm
Sure.
really hyper aware of everything happening from the food to the yoga to the activities to communicating with providers, making sure the shuttle will be picking us up at the right time. And, so I'm really sort of like spherically aware of everything happening, which I guess is like super extreme presence, but sometimes I feel like I'm not present in sense of like experiencing it as if I would if I was a guest, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. Um,
totally.
but but yeah, it doesn't necessarily feel like work. I think when something is a strength and something that you have like really started to own, that line gets a little bit blurred. It's like in Katona Yoga, we talk about the first nature, second nature, third nature. Um,
Hmm.
or this idea of effortless effort. Yeah, I'm making effort. Yeah, it takes a lot of work, quote unquote, but it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
Which, having said that, is something that I feel like can be my Achilles heel. In life in general, I feel very, very fortunate to do things for work that I really, really love. And
Yeah.
sometimes I don't realize that I have been going pedal to the metal. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I should take a break for myself. I sometimes don't
Yeah.
really realize how much I'm doing and going. Um,
Sure.
and I don't know if I'd have it any other way because I'm enjoying everything. I
Yeah.
just have to be a bit mindful about my energy and taking time for myself.
Yeah. And it sounds like you are someone who's a little bit more of an extrovert who, in the sense of gets energy from being around people,
Hmm.
not like gets drained from being around people. Um, and I feel like extrovert and introvert is so hard because sometimes I'm energized by people and sometimes it just so depends. But
Totally.
it sounds
Yeah.
like you are a little bit more on the extrovert side of
Hmm.
things,
Hmm.
probably.
Yeah. And I think, I think I have a pretty charged social battery. Um, and I also love being alone. I really do. I really
Yeah.
do. So yeah, I think it's like all things all at the same time, and
Yeah.
it's always morphing and changing. And um, but yeah, I do get
Yeah.
charged with the group dynamic, but sometimes I need to slow down.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hardest. It's the hardest lesson for any of us. Okay, speaking of lessons, what is something you've learned from leading retreats, whether it's about yourself or about the world? What's something you've learned from leading retreats?
So one thing I've learned from this sort of nerdy organizational perspective is that, a balance of the yoga, free time, included activities is a fine art. And I think I've like kind of mastered it, dare I say. And
Yeah.
then another thing is just being very specific in anything that is advertising the retreat, being very specific, not leaving stuff up to mystery. So just being very clear about like what's included, what's not included, what it's going to look like, using language to set the tone of the retreats. Because again, like I think if you want to go somewhere and like do yoga for 10 hours a day, well, you could do a yoga training and get that
Yeah.
experience. This is
Yeah.
not a yoga training. This is a yoga vacation. This is a group experience that is about exploration and getting out there.
Yeah.
Something sort of in a poetic sense that I've learned is that the world is amazing. People are lovely everywhere. There is so much beauty to be explored. I think, and I'll preface this by saying that I know that to be able to have the time and the resources to go on a yoga retreat that is a privileged experience. I
Yeah,
like to say that first and foremost.
totally.
Um, but I do think travel, whether it's yoga retreat or otherwise, is a form of resistance because we're living in a time where, um, especially in US politics, and actually it's kind of a trend globally, like this sort of hyper nationalism, fear, fear, fear. The only safe place is your home. That whole
Mm,
thing is so devastating to me. And I think that travel is an act of resistance. And if I can help, make someone more comfortable traveling to a place in Mexico because they know me and they know that I wouldn't like plan a retreat somewhere crazy dangerous. Like if I can
yeah,
help open up the world for people that maybe aren't as comfortable doing it on their own, to me, that is a great honor that I don't take lightly. And I think it's a very healing experience. So that's something else that I feel like I've learned, that it's not just a vacation. It's not just like doing yoga somewhere cool. It really is like an experience that can leave an imprint on your heart for forever.
yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful and so true. And I totally agree with you. Like, it is so, yeah, it's such a privilege to be able to do any kind of travel. And I am so grateful for any time that I've been able to travel because it just opens your eyes to so much about yourself and about others. And it's really easy to have empathy for people when you actually get to interact with them one on one. And,
Totally.
like one of the things that I love from yoga is the idea of seeing the divine in everyone around us and everything around us. And yeah, I think that that's such a beautiful um, takeaway of how yoga retreats help us do that. That's so cool.
Totally.
That's
Yeah.
really, oh,
To
that's so
me,
beautiful.
it's like it's the thing that matters most.
Yeah, totally. I know you said your first retreat was you led it. Do you ever get to go on retreats as an attendee, or are you always doing the leading these days?
Well, I've been on one retreat in my life, and that was that was to Cancun, Portugal with Daegis
Oh,
and
oh,
and
cool.
Kristen Watson Gearing, who both of
Oh
them are
my
just
gosh.
such amazing women, and it was such a great experience. And I'm really, really trying to find one. Maybe this summer. I'm turning 40 in June, so I kind of want to do
Gosh.
that for myself, like a little treat to myself.
Yeah.
But it's complicated because I'm doing retreats and then
Yeah.
I have to find out one that plugs in well. And if I'm going to be in Europe, I don't want to have to like fly back home and then a couple weeks later fly back again. So if something works out and it makes sense, that's my goal is this summer to do another one.
Oh my gosh. You're
Yeah.
second as a guest. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, as an organizer, what do you think that people who are picking a retreat should consider when they're doing that, when they're picking a retreat? What are some things you hope that they're thinking about?
Yeah. So, I mean, as mentioned earlier, my retreats are more about the whole experience. It's not a yoga focus experience, but we do just as much yoga as you would on an only yoga retreat, usually, right? We'll have like a morning class that's an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes. We'll have an evening class that's an hour, 15 minutes. So, there's, 2 to 3 hours a day of yoga in most cases. But again, it's like there's going to be other things included that we're doing as a group. So I think, if you're looking for a retreat, do you want to just go to the retreat, do yoga twice a day, and then have like total open space? Or do you want these experiences that are about exploring the local culture, customs, food, XYZ? So I
Hmm.
think that's the most important thing. And I personally, I would only go on a retreat with a teacher that I'd practiced with before.
Sure.
Um, I don't think that's a hard and fast rule by any means because plenty of people have come to my retreats based on a recommendation from a friend or just like some random way of finding the retreat. Um, and they've had a great time. So I don't think it's a hard and fast rule. But personally, if I was going to invest that money, the time, I would want to go with a teacher that I had practiced with before. And I guess in a way, as a yoga teacher myself, that's also my way of going, okay, even though I know this is not a training
Hmm.
explicitly so, I can go and also have my yoga teacher cup filled in that way as well.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I would say those are like the two main things. And like, go somewhere you want to go. And if the price is right and if you feel like it's a good fit overall, take the leap because it's going to be a ball.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, I could keep asking these kinds of questions all day, but I want to shift gears a little bit. And I have a few rapid fire questions. I say
Whoop,
rapid
whoop.
fire because who
Bring it
knows how
on.
rapid we can actually be. Okay, first question. Plane and or travel snacks. What are your go-tos? Top three.
I don't have any, which is
You don't
crazy for all the travel that I do, but I just like eat the nasty airplane food and then I have gas for like 5 days.
it's
Yeah, I
I
don't bring
can't
food.
believe
I don't
it.
bring my own food usually. I mean, I might bring some nuts or something, but yeah, I don't really have my go-to snacks.
Oh my
I
gosh, you're
know.
blowing my
I
brain.
know. It's weird.
Ugh. Okay. Well, moving on. Maybe I hope you have a better answer for this question. What is the best food that you've had recently on a retreat? And you get to define recently.
Okay. Recently, well, I go to Greece every year and well, I had gone for the past like 5 years and I do a retreat at this wonderful, wonderful place on Lefkada Island. And the owner of the retreat center, Orania, is like Greek mama and her food is absolutely, without a doubt, the best retreat food ever and some of the best food I've ever had. And it's just made with such love and it's just like good Greek cooking. And there's just so many options available every day, every meal, like from veggie stuff to non-veggie stuff to like Greek stuff to like her own little like playful creations from the kitchen. It's amazing. So I would say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those Greek salads that you were posting this summer looked incredible.
Greek salad a day keeps the something away.
My gosh. Okay. Retreat. Let's see if I can say this. Dream retreat location that you've never been to.
I would say dream retreat spot would be, oh, I don't know. That's really hard to answer because the world is just so big and vast and diverse, but I've never been to Patagonia, southern Chile, Argentina, and I would also love to do a retreat there at some point. But I
Yeah.
think it's a
Oh,
place that I
cool.
need to go to personally first,
Oh my
make
gosh. Yeah.
contacts, get organized, and then do a retreat. But that would be dreamy. Also, Japan is high up on my travel bucket list personally, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that would also be a really fun retreat spot as well. So
I I was just thinking about that. I was wondering if you've done anything or much in Asia, especially in like Japan, for example.
yeah, no, and I'm not in a huge rush or hurry to do a retreat in Asia. I know, like for example, Bali is super popular. Thailand can be very popular. It's just really far, and I think
Yeah.
maybe it's for my wherewithal a bit too far.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Never say never. Never
Yeah.
say never.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay. This this is also perhaps a mean question. I wrote one of these down while we were talking because of things that you said, but if you had to pick one, retreat in city or a retreat in nature?
Retreat in nature for sure. Yeah, because yeah, I mean, and even as a personal traveler, I have my favorite cities in the world, like New York City, number one, Paris, number two. But, I find myself in big cities now traveling and I get kind of burnt out quickly. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I feel like sometimes I pretend to like museums. Like, I like museums. Like, I'm fine. Like, they're
Yeah.
cool. And I love art. I'm an artist. I would consider myself one because of my dance career and
Yeah.
background. But, like, I'm like, do I really need to go walk around another museum? Do I really need
Yeah.
to, like, shop more? Like, I just am so filled up by nature. Um, and I've had some great experiences in nature recently. I mean, Slovenia, of course, and a little preview for our 2027 retreat, but the Dolomites in
Hmm.
Italy, I went about a year ago, and that was like, whoa, holy moly,
Yeah.
totally mind blowing. And so I'm organizing a Dolomites retreat for summer of 2027. So put that on your list.
Oh my
So yeah, I would say
gosh.
nature. Nature for me is like it's it. It's like everything. It's such a way to connect with that which is greater than oneself.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of nature, this also might be a mean question, but here I am asking the hard-hitting questions. Beach or mountains?
Mountains. I would have said beach like, I don't know, 5+ years ago, but since I live on the beach,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, give me the mountains. And granted, we do have
yeah,
mountains here in Puerto Vallarta, but I'm like, give me like cooler climate, give me mountains,
yeah,
give me the smell of pine, like, give me a hike, give me that
yeah,
like, there's such an immersive
yeah.
experience like in a mountainous spot versus a beach spot. So yeah,
Not all of us get to live by the beach, but I
true.
love that for you. I love that for you. Well, okay, so then this is maybe not for the podcast, but what's your favorite season?
Ooh, I would say spring. I would say spring or fall. I would say maybe spring wins because there's more of a hopefulness to spring. Like you're moving toward more sun, more warmth, more light. But I love fall too. I love cooler climates. And that's sort of, again, a byproduct of living somewhere that is incredibly hot for half of the
Yeah,
year. Like, I mean, we don't really
yeah,
have seasons here. Like, it's beach weather all the time, which is great. And
yeah,
sometimes it's chilly in the mornings. You can wear a sweater, but
yeah,
it's always sunny and it's always beach weather. And then
yeah,
our summers, like 6 months of hell.
yeah,
Literally, it's an inferno. It is so hot here.
yeah,
And so, like, I am just craving more and more cooler weathers, even winter. Like,
yeah,
I love a winter moment. I don't want to live somewhere that's super, super cold, but
yeah,
I love being able to like pack my suitcase with sweaters and my down jacket and like prepare.
yeah.
It's like there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad gear. So
Oh, yes.
I'm leaning into that idea and I enjoy like it's like I was telling my friend the other day, I'm like, yeah, I kind of like going cold places now because I feel like I'm cosplaying. Like I get to like just like wear these costumes and like be someone
Yeah,
I'm not and it's like kind of fun
yeah,
because I'm literally
yeah,
in t-shirts and shorts. If I'm here at home, you will rarely catch me with a pair of like long pants on. Always shorts,
yeah,
always t-shirts, and so it's nice to put on all the garb.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah, I get that. Okay, speaking of packing, I have a couple packing questions. Do you carry on or are you a check luggage person?
Well, I prefer to carry on, but Diego loves to check a bag. So I'm
Yeah,
overpacking like you would not believe these days. And
yeah,
yeah, it's a little bit cumbersome, but you do it and you just accept it and it's fine.
yeah.
But if I had it my way, I would only carry on. And of course, it depends on the length of the trip because, I would say both of my European retreat stints this year, we added on extra travel. So each trip was like
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 weeks total.
Yeah.
Each little trip. So that requires more. And if you're traveling different climates, of course, it's
Oh my
amazing.
gosh, yeah.
It's amazing how like packing some coats and sweaters just blows up your suitcase.
Yeah,
So if I had it my way, I would carry on, but sometimes
yeah,
checking it is the game.
yeah. Okay, speaking of packing, I used to travel for work, and I remember introducing one of my coworkers to rolling your clothes instead of folding, and it like changed the game for her. Are you a folder or a roller?
I'm a folder and a packing cuber. I
Ah,
love
okay, this
packing
was,
cubes.
yeah,
Love them. Because
okay.
you can,
I
you can pack the cubes and then you can
yep,
organize it by type. Like I'm going to put shorts here and tops here and underwear in this one and socks in this one. Then you just like take them out of your suitcase, put them on a shelf, and then you can just unzip the cube and you don't have to like mess with the organization of it. It's just all there. So I fold it, but I guess I roll sometimes. It just depends. Like I like to roll like athletic clothing, like my yoga stuff,
yeah,
roll it up,
yeah,
tuck it into a side here and there. Um,
yeah,
just depends on the garment.
Yeah, I'm new to the packing cube life. I haven't fully, I've just started to dabble. Okay, another packing question because I feel like this tells a lot about a person. Are you a pack in advance person or are you a last minute packer?
I'm like if it's a long trip, I'm like, okay, about 5 days before, I'll start like organizing some stuff. And in my anxiety to not overpack, I'll like just get out everything that I kind of want without really thinking about it. And then like over the next couple
Yes.
of days, I'll like whittle it down up to the last minute. I'm like, God, do I really need that one pair of shorts? And it's like, it's not taking up much space. Just leave it in the bag. But I get this
Yeah.
anxiety of like not taking too much. And I still, after all this time traveling, all these retreats, all these destinations, I don't have it down. I wish I could say that I had it down, but I'm always overpacking, but I'm getting better. Um,
Yeah.
and if it's a short trip, I'm not opposed to a last minute toss some stuff in a bag and call it good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, pivoting away from packing questions, when you're, waking up in the morning, getting all set on your retreat, are you a coffee person or a tea person?
Coffee, 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 coffee. I don't like tea. I don't not like
Interesting.
tea, but I'm like, tea never really tastes that interesting to me.
Yeah,
It's not strong
I'm a
enough.
coffee. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
coffee
coffee.
person. Yeah. Unless I'm in the South and then I'm a sweet tea, but I still need coffee before it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, sweet tea is nice.
Yes. And when it comes to food in general, are you a two or three big meals a day on a retreat, or are you snacking and munching all day?
Well, some retreats will include breakfast, lunch, and dinner. However, most retreats include just like a breakfasty brunch vibe, like post practice, like 10:30, 11
Yeah.
a.m., bigger brunch. And then
Yeah.
dinner. Some retreats don't include all dinners. It might be
Hmm.
that, like, for example, in Chiapas or Oaxaca, my Day of the Dead retreats will have like a welcome dinner and a closing dinner that's included, but then like the other days are free for people to um, go explore because, these are big culinary hubs in Mexico. Um,
Hmm.
and like, for example, this past Chiapas retreat, I basically made dinner reservations every night for our entire group. And I just asked people like, hey, this is not included, but do you want to join for this reservation? And then if people said no, I would just update the reservation. But yeah, on retreats, usually breakfast is always included, and then maybe dinner, maybe lunch, just depends.
Yeah. I'd be snacking all the time. I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna just pop in here and just
Yeah,
grab
yeah,
that. Like, I just can't. I have to try all the food all the time.
totally. I love food.
Ugh, I can't not. You fly a lot of places.
Yeah,
What do you do on the plane?
well, if
I
it's
love
a
to know people's
long,
plane habits.
yeah, I mean, if it's a long flight, like, this is gonna sound so like duh, Willis, but since I live in Mexico, I do a lot of my flights to Europe from Mexico
Yeah.
City.
Oh,
And
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't realize when I first started making these trips that we go all the way up to like the US East Coast and then arc over. I just thought, oh, we'll take a little diagonal upwards.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway,
me
so they're
too.
quite long trips. I mean, they'll be like, 10 to 12-hour flights from Mexico City.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
try to sleep. I try to make sure I can be as rested as possible. I like to enjoy wine on the flight.
Mm,
I will read. I have a hard time reading on planes. Usually, it's not really my favorite place to read would be like the beach. I can read a lot on the beach.
yeah.
I'll try to read on planes sometimes. It can be a bit hard for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my routine.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That made me think of another question. Do you have any jet lag tips?
Honestly, like just try to get on schedule as quick as possible. If that means taking melatonin or some other type of sleep aid to get a regular sleep once you're overseas, do it. That's my thing is like just get on the clock as quick as you can. Um, and also be graceful and gracious with yourself. Like it's fine if you're like effed up for a couple days. I mean, I've had days where
Yeah.
I'm like, it's 2 p.m. and I'm like, oh my God, I need to sleep. I am wiped out.
Hmm.
Or it's like, oh my gosh, I'm like sleeping until like 11 a.m. And I'm like, that dialogue is like, but you're in Europe, get out, explore. And I'm like, but I'm wiped out and I'm jet lagged. So just be gentle with
Yeah.
yourself, give yourself time if you can afford it, and just get on the clock as quickly as you
Yeah.
can by all means necessary.
Yeah. I love that. Maybe a nice
Yep.
strong coffee and who knows,
Yep.
maybe there's a cocktail later too.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Is there anything I missed about retreats? Anything that you think people should know about yoga retreats?
Yeah, so I think something that I wish for those that are going on a retreat soon or have plans to book a retreat soon with me or someone else, it really is important that whoever's leading the retreat is in it, as in it as part of the group experience. That, you don't end up in an experience where you get the vibe that whoever's hosting the retreat just is doing so to have their own vacation. I really, really make sure that I'm present, that I'm inclusive, that we're all in it together, that I create that container, to where it's really about being together. Um,
Yeah.
People can travel in so many different ways. And to me, a yoga retreat really is about being together with good people, expanding one's mind by virtue of good conversation, a new culture, um, time and space to reflect. So I think, yeah, that's my wish. Anyone that is going to go on a retreat, I hope that you land in a spot that is like very, very inclusive and welcoming and about the group experience.
Yeah. Ugh, I love that. And I think that's a really good takeaway for like a mindset for people to go into it, no matter where they're going, or if someone is thinking about planning a retreat themselves, if they're a yoga teacher, I think that's a really cool thing to think about. Last question. Where can people find you? First of all, do you have retreats coming up that have any spots on them?
Yeah, so I have the New Year's retreat, which is north of Puerto Vallarta at a beautiful retreat center. That's going to be really spacious. Actually, that retreat does not include any activities. It's one of the rare ones that does not. It's really about the yoga twice a day, being right on the beach and being in community with great people, bringing in a new year in a way that is gentle and celebratory. Then I have Iceland. I have Oaxaca in February, Iceland in April, Greece end of May, early June, and then I have Puglia, Italy, and Sicily in September, October-ish. Iceland is sold out. Oaxaca's sold out. There's still some room for Greece. There's still room in New Year's. There's still room in Sicily. So there's some chances to jump in.
Cool.
And
Okay,
then
I'll
there's
put
always
links
a
and stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, there's always a wait list for things that are full. It's actually not too common that people cancel, but it does happen occasionally, and then I always open that up to the wait list.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so that's retreats. And then tell people where they can find you on the internet. Where do you teach yoga? How can people connect with you?
Yeah, so I have my yoga studio in Puerto Vallarta called Flying Heart Yoga. Our website is flyingheartyogapuertovallarta.com. My personal website, willisjohnston.com, is where you can find all of my retreats and that type of offering. And yeah, Instagram, Flying Heart Flow, all over, here, there, and
Cool.
everywhere.
Ah, cool. Thanks, Willis. This has been so fun.
So fun. Thank you, Kim.
All right, that's everything for this week's episode of the What's Up with Yoga podcast. Thank you so much to Willis for joining us on this episode. I've put all the links, all of the ways you can find Willis and practice with him, whether it's retreats or in person in Puerto Vallarta. He also hosts regular Zoom classes as well. You can find me at Kim Struglinski on Instagram. You can find my studio Heart of Wisdom at Heart of Wisdom Yoga on Instagram. If you like this podcast, share it with a friend, share it on social media. If you're listening to this the day or the week that it comes out, I'll leave a link in the I'll leave a link in the description for you to vote for this podcast for the best local podcast for Nashville Fit Magazine. I would love your vote. Otherwise, leave us a rating, leave us a review, subscribe, all that jazz. And I'll see you next time.